Come on, don't let me down. I'm right here for you. Keep looking up.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. Yeah, so this video is about my final year 12 exhibition, which I've been working towards for the past 2 years, so it's been pretty cool to see everything come together at the end. One of the main elements that I wanted to include in my exhibition was actually ram skulls or goat skulls. So my teacher did just happen to have a ram skull in her drawer, so that worked out really well for me, but I did want to have a few more. I actually had to go searching for ram skulls. So I know someone who has some land with some goats, so we basically just went hunting for skulls and bones. But we did actually find a few. I brought home 3 skulls. We did also find some half decomposing animals, and that was a little disgusting! So I brought those home and I sprayed them with a hose just to get rid of any dirt and bugs. There were a few bugs that came out. That was disgusting! And then I had to awkwardly bring them into school and just walk in the hallways with a bag of skulls. There's my chicken there. Okay. So I brought them into the chemistry labs and I gave them another good wash with hot water and soap, just to get rid of the last extra gunk. And then a chemistry teacher was kind enough to just fill a bucket with water and hydrogen peroxide. I just left it in there to soak and it got rid of any extra gunk and any extra flesh. Disgusting! It started floating to the top, so we had to put stones on top and push it down. I thought I'd leave it for 5 minutes. Turns out I left it for a good 8 hours, so that's good. And then once we pulled them out, I just gave them another quick wash and then awkwardly brought them onto the bus back home because I wasn't ready to include them in the exhibition yet. And then I gave them another wash just to be sure, and I left them in the sun again to just bleach a bit more. If you're wondering why I wanted to use ram skulls, it's because the ram kind of became a big symbol for me in my exhibition. So the theme for my exhibition is mental illness. I had a few artworks where I just explored different mental illnesses and different aspects of mental illness. One of my main pieces, and it's my crown and jewel of the entire exhibition, it's the one I'm most proud of, it's called The Ram. I was kind of looking at the disarray and the chaos that a mental illness sufferer might be feeling, and with the deconstruction, it's just kind of looking at they might have difficulty putting things together and making sense of the world around them. I also had a second piece where the ram was the main symbol. It's called Deteriorating, that's what it's called. I was looking more at someone's mental state deteriorating over time. So if you read it from left to right, the ram becomes more monstrous and more aggressive. So for the whole setup, I wanted the background to be black. I had very strong contrasts with black and white in many of my pieces. One of the first pieces that I made was called Schizophrenia, and I wanted to represent the illness how I've always perceived it. The little creature on the shoulder being the schizophrenia, so it's not actually the person, but it's a being that's stuck onto them. I also did another portrait on schizophrenia, and again I used very strong contrasts of black and white with the jacket and the background, for example. And yeah, I did a few portraits such as Scream as well. That was a drawing I made with charcoal, and again I wanted there to be a very strong contrast, and so black kind of became a common theme for me in all of my pieces. Another piece that I did was called Empty or Isolation. I haven't come up with a proper name, but it's between those two, Empty or Isolation. And again, I use very prominent black, but I also use red. And red is another color that I use very often in a lot of my pieces, and it became a strong theme in my actual exhibition. So that's why I started using red strings to kind of connect all of my pieces. One of the reasons I did this was because I feel like all these mental illnesses that I was looking at were kind of linked and connected in some way. But also, these red strings were another common theme that I used, mainly in my piece Anorexic Rules, which is a set of 3 paintings together. Here the red ribbons were used to represent the rules that many anorexics follow, and they're attached to the branch where the subject is sitting where she is just unable to leave and unable to fly away as easy as it might seem. The red strings also kind of started to represent warning and danger for me, with the colour red being associated with that, so I just thought it was very fitting for the entire exhibition. I also started to use this symbol of red strings in another piece that I made straight after Anorexic Rules, called Inside Out, and I was further exploring anorexia. So here I was more representing like an abstract version of blood and veins, and the idea was that someone's so thin that you can see everything that's happening on the inside. And I used rice paper because it seems very fragile and delicate, so I thought that was very fitting. I also decided to put up these red strings because it kind of made me think of, you know, those boards that detectives use to solve a mystery or solve a case? I kind of thought of that because it made me think of a sufferer or someone else trying to make sense of the illness and trying to connect the dots and solve the case. That's kind of how I thought of it. I think that's all the pieces, so... We have a chicken here. Yeah, I suppose that's the end of the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Say bye, Lily! She says bye. I think that's the end of the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!